Hello, and welcome back to a brand new, exciting episode of Video Ditch. It's been a while, stained. It's been a while, as they say. And today, it's me, Sam, joined by Jake, and we got a very special return guest joining us at the desk today. We got Chris from Daylight Basement Studios, LLC, developer of Rightfully Barry Arms. He's here with us. Thank you, Chris, for coming back.
Thanks for having me back. Love to be back.
Always a delight to have a return guest. And when you're introducing a new co-host, it feels like showing off the baby, the metaphorical baby to the podcast family. Say, hey, look at this guy.
I love being the baby.
So, yes, we're here today, keeping it casual, not a very high stakes episode. Just checking in, our October check-in, what we've been playing, what else we've been interested in, and maybe even taking a progress report. Kind of check in with Rightfully Barry Arms. But gentlemen, how are we doing today? Jake, how are you?
Today? Oh, delightful. It's pretty cold, which is a nice change pace.
Yeah, we're finally approaching that time of year.
Yeah, went golfing yesterday. It was great, lovely. I'm exhausted. It was not great. It was tough. But yeah, it's been busy. Been a busy couple months. Haven't been here for a minute. Couple months. We got Nick over in.
It's true. Yes, the viewers might be wondering where he's at, and Nick is in
Japan,
the land of the rising sun, being happier than I could imagine. I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
overjoyed in any of the photos we've been getting. And if you want to get in on that, you got to get in the Discord, folks, and you can truly see Nick living his best life in Nippon. And it is
yeah, he's always wanted.
I love his photos on the Discord.
Yeah. He's just like, oh, he's in his happy place. It's very, very heartwarming.
And Chris, how about yourself?
We're doing great. I been busy as well, but I felt like last night I actually slept well, and so I feel like I'm here, I'm present. It's a weird feeling. Usually I'm just eternally tired and suffering, so I feel pretty good actually.
Well, hey, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. How's the weather on the East Coast?
We definitely hit our cold fall. But for the next 3 days, we get this like weird, it's like New England tries to claw back into whatever season we're coming out of. And so it's like, hey, we're not leaving summer yet. So it's like 70s for the next 3 days. So it's just like a strange feeling because I was wearing like sweatshirts and hoodies and hats, for the past like 2 weeks because it was too cold.
San Diego's kind of like that. Our Octobers are surprisingly hot. I feel like our summer comes kind of late. It's weird. Yeah, I know. It's finally getting cold out here. And it is the spooky season. So speaking of which, you guys have any traditions you uphold, adhere, media-wise, gaming-wise, or just anything-wise in October? Do you love horror?
Yeah, the fall season's got some good vibes. Watching Over the Garden Wall is it's a great show to watch during the fall. My wife loves Gilmore Girls, so we tend to put that on.
I see.
Get the update from the New England, Connecticut family.
I see. I never dove into that one, so
it's a wild world. It's a feel good show, and sometimes it's like their problems that they're experiencing, you kind of get lost in, and then you take a step back and you're just like, if I had these problems, life would be great.
I wish those were my problems.
Yeah. Like choosing which like Ivy League school to go to.
Oh, I don't know if I'm going to go to Yale or Harvard. God, Mom, you just don't understand how hard it is to be me, the most depressed individual.
But it's great. The New England classic, right? But in terms of like any gaming, I don't know if I do like a tradition. I'll talk about it later, but played some Amnesia the Bunker, which is a spooky game. Yeah. It's not a tradition though, but it's a great game.
Do you have a history with horror as like a favorite genre, or do you not really consider yourself like a big fan?
I think like the hardcore horror genre, I'm not like super into, but like thrillers or suspense, that kind of like borderline there. Yeah, that's a big. I love that. Like I think it can be
pounding.
Yeah, I think it could be done really, really well, and I have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah, horror. I love suspense. Love a lot of like just well done. Not even jump scares like in gaming, like Dead Space, it's
Space,
always a
perfect
great one. Like
example.
that's one of the best ones where you feel vulnerable, but you have a way to defend yourself, especially I enjoy. But that way is like not just, Left 4 Dead mauling through. Like that's more fun, gimmicky game, right? But yeah, those kind of like Dead Space just the original did it so well. I didn't play the remake. I've heard it was very good, but
I've actually been playing through the remake.
oh,
It's funny.
really?
It's funny you mentioned that because that's when I started earlier this month. Because I like to play a horror game in October.
That's cool. I
It's
never
just
thought
like,
about that. That's fun.
and so I did start playing the Dead Space remake, and I don't really have a lot of experience with the original. I've only played
Oh,
like little
okay.
bits of it, but I'm a big sci-fi horror fan. When Chris was last on here, actually, I mentioned I was taking like a watch of all the Alien movies, and I've since completed it. And I saw Alien Romulus earlier when that came out, and I really, really enjoyed that one. I mean, I'm all for it. And yeah, Dead Space is very cool. The atmosphere, I love a believable sort of everyman protagonist. Like, yeah, he's an engineer, right? So you have your tools and stuff, but he's not like a killing machine.
Right. That's I
Like
really
some
did so many things so well.
He wasn't like designed a hero before the game started.
And he doesn't have a hero archetype at all.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like, that's kind of what I'm faced with.
Speaking of sci-fi horror, have you played Prey? Prey is a
which one? The original on the Xbox 360 or the Arcane Studios 2017 one?
played the original a very long time ago. I must have, yeah, I was maybe middle school or something like
Yeah,
that. But
same.
the Arcane one is great, great game.
I mean, I'm a big immersive sim fan. I have started that one. There's just so many games. It's one of those games where I'm like, oh, I feel like I could really get into this if I dedicated the time. But my brain is like novelty addiction, right? So I gotta be hopping from one thing to another.
Totally understand that.
Yeah, I suppose that kind of transitions naturally into just like our first topic of the show is just kind of unpacking our library, what we've been playing in our library. We mentioned Dead Space and just horror in October. I think is a great time to experience it. Alan Wake 2 came out last year, and it's turning a year old in like 3 days, I think, and that's one that I've regretfully not gotten through, but I really do want to get back to it. Just kind of popped into my head right there. But in the immersive sim realm, excuse me. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Prey. I've been playing a game called Shadows of Doubt, which I'm not sure if either of you've heard of, but it's like it's an immersive sim, sort of like procedurally generated murder mystery. So you're like you generate a town and it generates like citizens in it, and then it'll assign a murder and a murderer to happen within, and it's up to you to solve the case. And interfacing through the environment and like in immersive sim gameplay. It's kind of like Deus Ex, first person perspective. You're really just like investigating. I've been having a lot of fun there. Yeah, it's super, super unique. It has a voxel based art style, so it's kind of blocky, not so much like Minecraft. A lot of people are like, oh, it looks like Minecraft when I show them, but it has a little more detail.
How's the randomness of it? Like, you feel like
Yeah.
it's a little too random, or you feel it's
No,
kind of
it's
curated?
so there's a scripted tutorial case that you could run through to kind of teach you the systems, but it has a sandbox mode that's really like the main way to play the game afterwards. And I don't think it's too random, right? The game will let you know when a murder has occurred, and then you kind of go to it. And it has an evidence board that's really like well put together, and it works like how you'd expect. You find clues at the scene, you attach to the board, and then you have the classic threaded board of evidence. Yeah, red red
Red
thread between each
threads.
thing. Yeah. Before you eventually have to you have to go to like City Hall, pick up a form, and then you fill out like who the murderer is and then all this stuff and whether or not you perform the arrest. Very cool. I think I just value that form of gameplay. I think
So what do you do in between murders?
Oh, so in between murders, it actually has like light survival elements. You have like hunger and thirst, and you could get an apartment to like sleep in because the whole city is simulated, right? So like when you're going from location to location, you're walking like through the streets, and every citizen you meet is like, they have a history, they have a house in the city, they have a past history that's been simulated, and it's only like 200 or 300 NPCs, but even so, it's still like super detailed. And I think I'm really excited to try it out more because it is a little intimidating and overwhelming, I will say, because it's just like you have a whole city. Like, where do you even begin to investigate sometimes? I love the feeling of just doing everything. right? Like it puts you in the shoes in the moment. And I think that's a very powerful way to like tell a story. And what about you, Chris?
I've been playing a lot of Crusader Kings 3 lately. That's been my feudalism simulator
Yeah.
I've been at. And
Those are like RTS, right? Kind of.
yeah, it's like an RTS kind of like event driven. I don't know how else to describe it. It because Paradox I believe is the one behind it,
Yes,
and they
Paradox Interactive.
yeah, they do such a good job with it. It's just like it gets you straight into just like being feudal and like looking out for yourself.
The
I don't know
feudal
how else to,
mindset.
it's just like it's like look out for yourself and no one else, and like whatever actions you need to take to kind of advance your objective, which like you hop into a game and they have some like campaigns, I guess I'll call them, where you can like set a goal, or they have like a predetermined goal set that they try to like have you meet. So like reunite Ireland, or
Okay, for sure,
um
for sure.
yeah, reunite some like, or unite some like
Land mass. Yeah.
yeah, that may have been some alternate reality during the
Sure,
time.
sure. Yeah.
But a lot of the times it's just like you define what you want to do.
I love
So
that. Yeah.
it is actually really cool. So a lot of other kings and queens are doing their own thing in around the world, and you're just trying to maximize on some type of metric. So
Yeah.
I did a playthrough where it was just like I'm just gonna sleep with everyone. Like it didn't matter
Nice
who it was.
Lothario
I'm just yeah,
playthrough.
basically. It was like you're going to go war with me? Well, I'm gonna go sleep with your
I'm
queen.
gonna go sleep
Like
with your wife. Yeah.
my like country's being ransacked, and just like look what I'm doing.
Yeah. You can just set your own goals, and that becomes the story in itself.
Yeah, it's wild because it's like when you're the character that you're playing, like the king or the queen that you're playing, dies, the game doesn't end. It's like
Right. It kind
it's
of
just,
next in line, kind of.
yeah, and succession's like a huge part of it, which is like actually such a cool, fun mechanic.
Is Crusader Kings 3 the latest, or is there one currently out now that's
I believe that's the latest, and they've been just pumping out DLC for it. So they
okay for
came out
sure?
with one recently. I forgot what it was called, but it's like you can take on the role of like kind of a no name and slowly build up your authority and prestige, and then like become like a landowner, and then from there you can potentially become a king. Yeah,
Very Mountain Blade kind of
sure.
storytelling. Yeah, very cool. That's one I've never taken the time to get into. I know Nick has. Nick has spent
Has it
a
has Nick played
surprising amount of
Crusader
time.
Kings?
Yeah,
I feel like I've heard him talk about it before.
he's streamed
Those
it a
must
few
be weird.
times where he'll like create a character with just every defect kind of imaginable, just kind of deformed, gimpy human, and
Of course. Yeah, that sounds
then
right up his alley.
just like I'm going to spread my seed throughout the kingdom, and
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
all my heirs are inbred, kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah, like make your own goals.
yeah, total sandbox.
It's
And
so
the
fun.
fact that it supports that is hilarious, and I think yeah, wonderful.
And the world reacts to it too, which is cool. That's like
Yeah, that's
systemic design that, yeah,
mhm.
it'd be fun to do something like that one day.
Yeah, systems interacting with each other is one of my favorite like ways that a game tickles me.
Yeah, is that hard to on a coding standpoint, like the whole success idea of like the succession and everything, is that hard to do?
I think like it's intimidating for sure. I've like thought about how I would approach it, and like I think if you build the right system, the right code base for it, it's not that difficult for it to kind of materialize. I think like like what ends up happening with those types of systems is, there's infinite possibilities, right? And it's like, how do you cover that, test that, make sure it's not completely broken? And there's always going to be some edge case, especially for like a small studio that's trying to make something big like that you're just like not covering or not looking at. So that's like, I think my perspective, like where the huge challenge would come in.
Yeah, I mean to account for every possible. It's crazy to think about.
I know it's like games like Crusader Kings. I'm trying to like think of like other ones that I
I
mean,
know.
like even like
I've
Bind of
definitely.
Isaac.
There you go. Yeah.
The combos of things that happen together are pretty wild. And feel like approaching infinite at some point.
Yeah, Slay the Spires and other. It's kind of like that. There's so many.
What about you, Jake? What have you been playing?
Oh,
If you've had any time to play anything. If not, I understand.
The usual suspects. RuneScape check me a new season drop, so playing that a lot with a couple friends. And I think I finally finished Paper Mario. I was replaying through old Paper Mario. I finally finished that one, and now I'm just
The
kind of
N64
waiting.
one, right? On the
Yeah. I just did it on the Switch on the emulator. And Ivy is playing through she's playing through the Thousand Year Door right now. So we're kind of watching her do that. But also, I did order finally, as you know, as I've mentioned a
Oh,
couple times, I've
yes.
been waiting for Chris and any viewers who didn't know, I couldn't get a PS5 for like 3, 4 years because, well, 3 years, the first 3 years because no one could get them, and I wasn't willing to pay a scalper $1,000 for a $400 or $500 machine. I was not willing to do it. And after like 3 or 4 years, I was just like, fuck it, I'll just wait till the Pro comes out because at this point I've waited 3 years. It's gonna be a year, then it ended up being 2 years or so. But they got announced, and yeah, I know the price tag's high and everything, just annoying. And the fact that it doesn't have a disk drive. But I was like, I kind of just like feel so defeated because I waited this long. So it's like, oh, I waited this long. I don't want to just go get a regular one. Like I know it makes no sense, but it's like, fuck it, I'll just get
It's
it.
only a few $100 more, I
I got
guess.
it, and
It'll make my games look that much better, I
I got the
guess.
disc drive. Half the reason I even want the thing is to play Blu-rays because I want to buy like a lot of the shows
Can't even
Ivy and I
fucking play my
watch,
movies.
especially like yeah, movies, but especially like anime because when when they do
Mm.
animes, like when they release the Blu-ray, it's like a much more finished product
Yeah,
generally.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
No more
that's
dithering or weird dimming in the image.
yeah, the
Yeah.
dimming is crazy, crazy. So and just no deadlines. They actually round
Yeah,
out the
no, they can
product.
polish up frames. It is pretty
Yeah.
shocking sometimes, the difference.
That the Juju season, if you haven't seen the second season on its Blu-ray counterpart compared, dude, it's crazy. They add
I've seen some of the
so
extended
much.
cuts from that as well. It's very
Are you a
cool.
manga reader or anime watcher, Chris?
Yeah, I'll watch kind of some more of the mainstream pop ones, but
Yeah.
like I'm not like super into it.
I'm
Watching a
relatively
lot of
casual myself,
yeah, yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a casual pleb, so
Right
yeah.
on, right on. Yeah, our star for that is in Japan in his holy land right now. So,
who
but
would have thought?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just imagine some
classic.
montage of him just
Oh,
frolicking through Japan.
yeah, through like Akihabara or something, just going nuts. Yeah, other than that though, no, I'm looking forward to playing a lot of games on that. To have the time. But I did you know what? I did start playing Age of Mythology a little bit
Age of Mythology.
because they remade it. Not remade, like remastered.
They re-released it.
I
Yeah,
like AoE
modern
2 and
port.
4. I played all the campaigns in 2 and 4, and then it came out with this. I was like, okay, I'll play some of these. It's fun. It's
Yeah,
good.
I've
It's really
only
good.
played Age of Empires 2, I believe.
That's the most common one. Everyone grew up with that one. But and they remade that. I remember they have the definitive edition. It's pretty good. And they keep pumping out DLC for it even today, which is cool.
For the
Yeah.
definitive edition of AoE
Yeah.
2? Oh
Yeah.
wow.
All four, AoE 1, 2, 3, and 4 all have dedicated teams still. And for their definitive editions, yeah, Relic has to 4 just came out a couple years ago, and that's probably the biggest. Well, that and 2 are the biggest teams because they're the biggest player base. But even 1 and three's definitive edition have like
Every now and then.
yeah, and get new
Wow.
content. It's really cool, like for Relic to do that. But and now Mythology as well. It's just kind of neat. But yeah, I mean that's just kind of my RTS kick.
So how different is Age of Mythology from a standard Age of Empires?
Super different. It's all like rather than you're picking the English versus the Chinese or something like that. It's like you're picking Zeus versus Ra, or you're picking
I mean, yes, makes sense given the subject matter.
yeah, or not
But
Zeus. Those
does
are your
the
god powers, but
like does the moment to moment sort of management of your
it's still
army
a it's
civilization
in that
does it
regard,
change
it's
much?
very similar, except I'd say mythology is less focused on like the micro aspect, but they all are very less micro than like a StarCraft. Like I'm not.
You're just trying to like pump up your faith stat or something, like keep
Yeah,
building temples,
it's still the same gameplay loop.
Okay.
It's just there's a little more fun and there's like maybe a little more outlandish powers and
Yeah, I would
stuff.
assume like potential for destruction kind of goes up
Yeah,
when you
the win
introduce.
conditions are a little different.
Yeah.
Like rather than just a total domination, take out the landmarks, which you can do. You could have like a Titan come through and just fucking stomp all over everything. It's just fun shit. A little more gimmicky, wacky, but it's a great campaign. If you like
Okay.
RTS, it's a
I was gonna ask
fantastic.
if
It's
you're
probably the
doing it.
best campaign of
Yeah.
any RTS I've ever played.
Wow.
The only RTS I've played.
Yeah, it's the greatest. That's good. That's good. Do you play those online ever? Do you like skirmish with other people, or it's not really how you like to
I'm
engage?
so bad at them. I can
Yeah.
barely play the campaign.
Yeah, I tried playing online Age of Empires with some friends who like
So
really
hard.
played. And I'm like, I'm like in
Big
the
mistake.
Bronze Age, and you are already
Big
using
mistake.
guns on my cavemen. Yeah, it's pretty intense.
People are so good at those, and they are so hard. Like as someone who's played League for 10 years or 8 years or whatever, League is hard. League of Legends is a very difficult game, extremely difficult game to be. He'll be like really good at, and just to learn. Age of Empires and RTSs, personally I find them to be on another level of skill because you have to not only be good at the like micro mechanical side, you also have to be so good at macro, like at knowing what's going on at any given time and
I feel
strategizing.
like reacting to that,
Fast.
and yeah, the strategy aspect of it is something I would
Too old,
struggle with.
too old for that shit now. Like my brain does not work that fast anymore. Slowing down every
I
day.
feel like to be competitive in RTS 2, you've got to like kind of just like keep practicing at it too and keep
Totally.
training. And I played a lot of like Dota 2
Oh yeah.
in my life,
Yes,
and
you
like
know.
and I feel like I could take breaks from Dota 2 and come back to it, and then it's like
Same thing with League.
a little rusty, but it's like I feel like I hop
You
back into
get
it at some
back
point.
into it, right? You'd still be gold or whatever the equivalent is in Dota 2 if you put another couple weeks into it.
StarCraft 2, it's like when I was like playing a ton of that, I got up to platinum at one point, and then I like took like a month off and came back to it. It was just like I was like bronze. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
The gap
Right?
just
What?
widened. Yeah.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It's
People get dedicated with that stuff.
yeah,
Fun games. I think it's kind of a dying genre, honestly, just
for
because
sure.
TikTok brain, dude. Kids don't have attention to sit and play a game for an hour anymore. That I mean, maybe there's so much going on they can stimulate, but I doubt it. It's people just want like the instant rush now.
I like where RTS is going with like Company of Heroes. Like it's not like super intense. You've got
Like smaller kind of units, like total units that you're managing.
and it's like it's really important to keep those units alive. So you're just kind of focusing on them. You don't have to like macro a bunch, swap between microing and macroing. You have to build a bunch of crap, and like
And the pace of those games is always something that I never could wrap my head around.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about your 8 p.m.
Yeah, right. Like, but more power to people that do enjoy that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Like,
It's incredible.
For sure. I love
Yeah,
watching it.
It clearly
I still watch
resonates,
it.
with a lot of
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
There's a YouTuber streamer I consistently still watch play AoE for because he's just entertaining and also it's very fun to watch. It's impressive. Right? It's just
Yeah,
impressive.
I bet I could imagine. Yeah. It's like watching someone strategize. I wonder if that's how like ancient Chinese scholars felt like watching like wow, look at this commander go. The way he commands his armies.
Reading old records of like
Yeah,
wars, you're just like, wow,
exactly.
okay.
This shit is sick. Yeah.
Watching someone in their prime just do awesome things.
Sun Tzu. Should have seen him out there. Right on. Right on. On the other side of things, I've spent a fair amount of time with Star Wars Outlaws, and I hate to bring up Ubisoft on the show because
Let's hear it.
it's
I love
always
it. I
it's
love your
always
Yugoslav shit. He loves Yugoslav, dude.
I do.
He's so
But
he's like
the
a
thing-
little famished child pulled out of the Philippines. Give me Yugoslav,
Give me the slop, Ubisoft. No, it's tough. I try to be. This game got me thinking about like games discourse in general because I hate the negativity and I try to be kind, but it makes me realize that being kind is not the absence of critique. Sometimes the kindest thing to do is to be critical of something because you want it to be better.
Of course.
And Ubisoft is just a studio that I wish would do better.
Dude, this fucking I know.
And
They've
so
done it.
crazy.
Talk about it all the time. They have lots of great works. They just all came out 10 plus years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
15
I
plus
mean,
years.
before we get like into Star Wars Outlaws and like its series of faults and the few things that it does right. I don't know if you guys have been seeing like any headlines swirling about Ubisoft that they're considering, I think, going private again instead of being like a publicly traded company because their sales are tanking. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, no
Or
shit.
they're underperforming.
Yeah,
I think going private would be a good idea. I think
let's
it
just
might
get
give their
bought.
creative teams, yeah. I mean, and then the other side of those, like if they get bought,
I'm totally fine with them getting bought. Please, as long as whoever does it keeps Trackmania around, I don't give a fuck what happens to Ubisoft. I would love to see them get bought.
right? If Microsoft buys Ubisoft, that'd be very strange. I mean, not strange. I could see it happening because they do it, or like if Tencent acquires Ubisoft, it's like this double-edged sword where it's like, oh my god, now we're gonna get like extra slop. But at the same time, it like at the same time, if they get acquired by a bigger company where it's like their performance isn't going to directly affect like stock prices anymore, then like they can perhaps have a little more wiggle room. So
There's
it's
so many IPs. I would almost want them to get bought just so that someone can remake Splinter Cell again,
yeah, so
make
they
it
could have
good. You
be in
know,
an environment that allows those things to be
totally.
made or take risk. Yeah, that would be interesting. Could there be a good future for Ubisoft? That is the question on some people's minds. And I really don't know. I really don't know.
There's so many IPs. They have
Yeah,
so
the
many
games
good
industry is
IPs.
just so nuts all the time.
Yeah,
But Outlaws, if sales are tanking for Outlaws, I can understand because it's
it's
painfully
bad.
mediocre.
Okay,
In
you're
in
right.
the way that
It's not
like
bad.
it's not bad, right? Like when it does deliver on the fantasy of being a smuggler that's working like for three factions simultaneously and trying to juggle loyalty, and like when you have to be aware of that and like that's motivating what you're doing in the game space, very cool. But when the moment to moment gameplay is just the most basic, like boring, and I hate to use like boring
Just
because fun is
monotonous.
so like, yeah, subjective, but it is monotonous and feels, yeah, just bland. It's tough to talk about something when it's
They're
bland.
shallow, dude. They're
Yeah, and
shallow
as a
games.
Star Wars fan too, it's like, oh my god, it's represented so beautifully, but then it's like I can only interact so surface level, where it's like, oh, more pain,
So
more
what's some
pain.
of the monotony that you have to deal with in between?
I'd say the gunplay is it lacks impact. So combat encounters just aren't fun. And it feels a lot of like missed potential. You're an open world Star Wars game, but you're only allowed access to one vehicle. Like you can only ride your speeder bike, and it's like there are things. Like, let me just Grand Theft Auto, like nice bike, take someone else's shit. Because
The
you're a
stealth
criminal
was pathetic
and the
too.
stealth is
Sorry,
pretty
just
bad. No,
pathetic.
Ubisoft stealth is
Which is
really
crazy because they made quite
fallen.
possibly the best stealth game of all time with just Chaos Theory. Like Splinter Cell
Yeah.
Chaos Theory is widely regarded and arguably one of the best, if not the best, like executed stealth in any game ever. Because it took so much, like from Thief and from Metal Gear, right? It took so much influence from both of those, and it kind of just, it had two games before it that just drummed up the formula, and Chaos Theory just fucking nailed it. So good. So it's like how what, and then
Where
I
where
mean,
do you
the
go
first
wrong?
Assassin's Creed was fucking excellent too in terms of an open world that had very, cool stealth elements that
It was a
uh
focused vision, that first
yeah,
Assassin's Creed. I think you can point out
and
like one of the
two.
main flaws of Star Wars Outlaws is this really wide scope of ambition, but it's so wide that you don't get to dip your fingers into anything very deep.
Just feel like there's no passion
It's
in it.
like, okay, cool, I can fly a spaceship, but it doesn't like it doesn't feel great. So it's unfortunate.
It looks pretty,
It looks gorgeous. It's a great looking game,
but it's like these things just need to stop giving a fuck about
But yeah,
graphics,
yeah, I
dude.
think I think graphics really should not take
Just
precedence
inflating
over a
budgets.
greater level of interactivity or meaningful gameplay, which is a shame, you know.
It's okay though. We're getting an indie game resurgence because of it.
Exactly. And then on the opposite side of that, playing indie games like Shadows of Doubt, that's indie. That's an indie game, right? But it has this crazy like scope and ambition that it focuses in on and allows you to interact with it. And I think it achieves its goals in a much stronger way than you could say Star Wars Outlaws does. Because that's, I think, when thinking about games discourse and like beyond something being fun, like that's certainly important. but fun is something that can vary so wildly person to person. I think it's also important to think about, did it achieve what it set out to do? Did it
That's a
achieve its
good point.
goals?
It's a
All
really
right.
good
Did
point.
it accomplish what it intended to do? And I think, yeah, you can easily point out like Star Wars did not accomplish like, what it intended to do by being this complete immersive open world experience in the Star Wars universe. Because it's, yeah, not only really generic feeling to play, you have a universe that has the narrative potential of like so many stories, and it's like 5 planets, and 3 of those planets you've already like seen represented in other media, and then the story itself is just like dog shit Ubisoft,
Yeah, Ubisoft,
writing,
typical
uh,
Ubisoft.
which is a shame.
Do
But
you play
yeah,
any Ubisoft games, Chris?
I know. Yeah, my tirade is over.
I've picked up like Far Cry. Yeah, but I haven't played. The last Assassin's Creed I played, I think, was Brotherhood.
Okay, when they
Which
were
was all
still
right.
pretty, yeah, they
Yeah,
weren't so bad then.
I don't really think I have like played anything like super recent from them. I'm trying to like think back.
I've played so much, man. It's unfortunate. Yeah, you're really not. I think a thing to consider with Ubisoft games that I get frustrated about when I see people talking about it is that they like get mad at it, but then they're engaging with like the gameplay at like a really basic level. Like, oh, this game fucking like sucks with stealth, but they're not even like trying to attempt to have any sort of finesse or nuance in the way they're playing. So I
But
think that's what
should,
annoys me.
but
But you
unless
shouldn't have to do that. Yeah.
the game should not force me to set my own
Yes.
parameters
Yes. No, yeah. And
on
I agree there too.
making it difficult or
Yeah.
nuanced, like
Yeah,
making
because
me
even
have
when you
to
play
do
those
that.
games on the hardest difficulty, it's artificially difficult and
Yeah,
frustrating.
it's just inflated
I
health.
hear that. I hear that. Yeah, yeah. Don't give your enemy 500 times health because that's
No,
just the fucking worst. I cannot with that.
I know. That's
Oh.
just Bethesda 101 too.
Mm-hmm.
Like give them
Man,
another move set. You don't have to give a whole new
can you
AI.
believe that? Can you believe that Todd Howard, that Starfield is like gonna sustain them for a decade?
That
Like this
shit
is a
was so
game
funny.
gamers could just play for 10 years.
Womp womp.
Oh, respect to all the people that worked so hard on that shit. But Todd Howard, fuck you.
Da-da,
I
da-da,
heard they came
da-da,
out with a
da-da.
DLC recently, I think too, and I think
Mm.
it just absolutely
Very, very minimal
flopped.
splash. Yeah. And on the opposite side, where quadruple A gaming is failing me, I think. I know quadruple A is such a funny fucking good term. It is, right? And triple I for their indie gaming is fucking absurd. But on the indie scene, last games I really want to bring up. I played this game called Web Fishing that I'm not sure if either of you have heard of. It's very influenced by like Animal Crossing. I believe it was made during a game jam, so it kind of has that rough around the edges kind of feel to it. But it's just like a social experience where you fish, you create a little animal avatar and you
I'm
fish.
looking it up. I
Very
like
cozy.
fishing games too.
Like I
I
think
fucking
I think
like
this
it.
is a great pick. Me and my siblings have just been able to share space together, and it's very charming in that
That's really
regard.
cool.
And there's depth to it. It's not just fishing. There's like a little progression track for you to sink your teeth into. Would recommend. I think small scope of ambition, but it hones in on it very very well and allows for a very fun time. And then Streets of Rogue 2. I don't know if I've
Oh
talked to you.
yeah.
Oh, Jake
I
and I played Streets of Rogue
that's
at his house
hella
actually.
fun. Hella fun.
I don't know
Based
if you've
on
heard of this game, Chris.
I think you'd like it based on
Yeah.
rightfully Barry Arms. I think you'd dig it.
Yeah, kind of.
I
Yeah,
haven't picked
bullet
it up
hell.
yet, but it's on the list.
There's a free demo out for the sequel
Is it really?
right now, so highly recommend. Yeah.
Cool.
For those that don't know, I always fucking rave about this game whenever I get the chance. Just isometric, not even isometric, just a top-down pixel immersive sim in an open world. Really, just how you boil it down, and it's very fun. And that's mostly me. I'm just more excited for Streets of Rogue 2. I do want to finish Dead Space because October is nearly over, which is insane to me. You know,
Yeah.
it's like I gotta finish at least one horror game. Yeah, that's where I'm at. And then yeah, what about your horror game that you brought to the show today, Chris?
Amnesia the Bunker. Oh, Boy, let me tell you about that. That is a great game. I went in with like not necessarily knowing the premise and or having expectations around it. I played The Dark Descent, so
That was my next question.
yeah, I thought that's where it was the direction it was going to go. I didn't play the other Amnesia games.
A
And then they
Machine
also
for Pigs.
Are there other
Machine for
ones?
Pigs.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
Oh.
Machine for Pigs, and there was
there's one
one right
more.
before the bunker.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought the bunker was like number 2. I didn't even know there was other
No.
ones.
And then they also did, is it Soma, I think?
They
Yes.
did, yes.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so I didn't pick those up again because I like the Dark Descent, but I'm not like super into the horror genre
Yeah, I'm
itself.
not either.
But
personally.
yeah,
The way that encounters are in Amnesia is not my favorite either. When you're just like running
Yeah.
for your life and hiding in
Yeah.
a closet. God
Just
damn
like
You
it.
feel so
No-
helpless.
I hate this.
no defense. You're just like,
Yeah.
all right, for the next hour, I'm just gonna torture myself. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Hey,
the
more power to
bunker
you.
kind of like it has a. I haven't played it, Alien Isolation though. I think it's kind of the similar like
Mm.
open
Oh,
world.
like being stalked by a creature kind of vibe.
Exactly. Yeah. And like once I started playing it and kind of figured that's
That's what's going on.
that's
Yeah.
the shtick, it was like, oh yeah, all right, this is cool. Because then you begin to realize
A
and
pursuer
learn like,
enemy.
yeah, and learn their behaviors and you can kind of actually react to it. So it's not like it's like that suspense, it's that thriller sort of
Is it
feeling.
constantly following you, or is it more scripted sequences where it's let loose?
There are very little scripted sequences. So
Okay, cool. So it's kind
um,
of just emergent.
yeah, it's emergent gameplay and yeah, an immersive sim, I'd say, feeling where
It's really interesting.
yeah,
for
you're like
Amnesia.
it's fantastic. And I've read and heard that like this was kind of like a trial for I'll say trial for the developers, Frictional Games, where they're gonna I think it's like something that they're trying
They're kind
to
of like
do.
experimenting different
Yeah.
style of game here. Yeah.
And I think it worked for them. Hopefully their sales reflect that because I would love for them to keep going with it. The narrative wasn't as strong as The Dark Descent, but there are some like good moments with it. You're like stuck in this bunker during World War One, and you're kind of like learning why exactly there's this ridiculous monster that's like trapped in there with you, and you're essentially your goal is to get out of the bunker. And there's just like awesome moments where like so while you're in the game, you kind of forget that there's a war going on, like a whole world war, and they have these like just neat moments where you're just like hiding from the beast or like whoever's following you, and you just hear like gunfire above you, and it's like, oh yeah, there's like I'm in this world that is not
There's
just,
all this other stuff happening. Yeah. It's alive around you. Yeah.
people forgot about me, and it's kind of a weird feeling, but it's
I
good.
feel like that
Yeah.
lends to the horror as well. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's
Totally.
they did a really good job with that setting, and they have like these different areas that you're kind of supposed to go and unlock. And through exploring the bunker, you like learn how to like interact with the monster, figure out when this monster is like gonna come out, and like there's signs
Oh,
for
like
that
its
too.
routines and behaviors.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Sometimes they sprinkle in, I think, like kind of like the random jump scare where it's not really like a jump scare per se, but I think they kind of throw you off a little bit with it too. But yeah, you meet even some other characters in the bunker, which
That's cool.
again, it's just like it's a little wild.
Yeah, this one actually had combat, right? Like you could actually
I was just
pick
gonna
up
talk
a
about
gun
that.
and yeah.
Yeah, you have a gun and you have bullets, and bullets are not easy to come by. And at first, I played the game for maybe like the first half of the game. I used the gun as defense. It was like it's your get out of jail free card is essentially
Yeah.
what it is. So when the monster finds you and you can't run from it, you shoot it and it will go away. And they have a neat little mechanic with that. I won't spoil when after the first time you shoot it. But yeah, that was like my, and I'm guessing a lot of other players like interpretation of the weapon for going through the game. But then at some point it was like the gun isn't necessarily a get out of jail free card. It's actually a tool just like any other tool.
Any
you
other
find in the
item you
game.
find in
Yeah,
there? I like
and
that.
once you start thinking about it like that, you can actually solve other puzzles different ways,
Mm.
which is really cool. And I think they kind of played into that trope that like they thought like gamers were gonna like pick up and be like, all right, I need to save the gun, I need to save the ammo for this particular case, and it's actually better to maybe think outside the box with the gun.
I like that. I like design that encourages creativity like that. Very cool. Did you ever play like Penumbra or any of their other earlier works before Amnesia? I have not either. I've watched videos on them, but just kind of the underground sort of facility theming seems consistent with what they enjoy doing.
I have a funny story about frictional games. Well, it's maybe not even funny at all, but I have a story about frictional games.
Okay.
I'm going to share
love to hear it. Yeah, please.
I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, there you go.
It's actually not at all
this
funny.
Is not funny at all.
It's actually
Why
really
would you say that?
Yeah. Just reflects me as an individual.
Horrible.
So I think I played Dark Descent in high school. That sounds about right.
Yeah, it's
timeline-wise,
for us.
And part of my like looking at the world of like what I wanted to do next, I was like, man, I want to make video games. So I sent them an email and I was like, can I be an intern or something? And they sent one me back and they're like, nah. Like, all right. They were very polite about it.
No.
Basically.
Never.
Like, no.
At least they sent back. That's actually good.
Yeah.
It is true. Oh man. Wow.
So if any other devs come across this podcast,
yeah, frictional games. What were you thinking?
I still remember the rejection, but
the sting of rejection. Oh my god!
You guys make great games.
Very good.
Funny. Right on. So I had a quick question about speedrunning.
Ooh, what a segue! Look at Jake.
Let's talk speedrunning.
Yeah, wow. Diving into the wide and wonderful world of speedrunning.
I got a lot to say.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Sorry, I said I had the question, but I kind of just want to. My question is, what do you got to say? I'm curious. Because I wasn't here for the last one, but I dig speedrunning too. I mean, I watch it. I don't do it.
Yeah, is there any recent event that has kind of spurned the interest, or is this something that you've always been
the YouTube
passionate
algorithm
about? Okay,
I don't know. It's like I every so often I just start watching speedrunning, and it just happened again recently, and I'm just like so enamored. We were talking about like the RTS players. Like you watch your favorite RTS streamer, it's just like, this is amazing, and like this is so cool, and it's just like how I feel about speedrunners. I have so much respect for them, and that they kind of express their art through someone else's art in a way. It's like so neat.
It's a
like
craft, certainly.
It's an appreciation. Like they're showing their appreciation for someone else's art by just like breaking it, and it's such a weird.
No, it's interesting.
I hear you
there
because it's like so. When considering like what is there a game I would want to speedrun, the first games that come to my mind are my favorite games. So it's like games that I absolutely love and would see myself enjoying playing thousands upon thousands of times, right? Like, so it's a passion for the original product for sure. It's got to be. If it's not, I don't. That's just you're just a masochist. But
I mean, yeah, you're watching a speed run, right? Like Games Done Quick. I'll watch a lot of those because I love like the couch that they have behind them, and they're talking about it, and
the commentary.
There's always just great
the audience
too. There's some great GDQ moments that you.
And it's like you can tell, right? Like that they've just like everyone usually on the set is just like poured their heart into something.
Yeah, the sense of community in the speedrunning community is something to be.
It's gone so big too.
Yeah,
and it's like one of the largest events for them is literally charity. It's just donate, and it's like
that's such a good thing.
We need to protect this community at all costs. And like, figure out.
Both of their main two events, both AGDQ and SGDQ, are they both charity events?
I don't even know, but I think so.
I believe.
I think
they're always sponsored by some, or some people are sponsoring others. Yeah.
But it's wild to me. I think like even too from like a developer's perspective, like when I'm listening to the runner or even the couch like talk about something they're about to exploit at a time, it's like they have such an insight into a game that like sometimes I think they're like completely spot on. Like, I don't work on any of the games that they're like, they're speed running it. So I can't have perfect insight into it. But it seems like they're right. Like they're they're talking the right language. They may have some experience themselves in game design or programming, but
Hmm.
sometimes too they're just like I feel like they're off, and it's like I don't think you're the way that you're describing it is not how I think it's working.
Hmm. Mm.
And but it's still like this like incredible insight because they're onto something, but they don't
Yeah.
maybe quite know it. And it's
Yeah, what they're articulating. It's interesting.
yeah, it's a credible yeah community. Yeah.
That's really cool to hear from a developer standpoint. Like, it's like when you're a musician, you listen to certain music, so you can pick out the instruments individually and know what they're doing, right? I never considered that as a what it would be like being a dev watching games, and you probably have a hard time. Sometimes I would imagine I don't tell me if I'm wrong. Do you sometimes find yourself just like when you're watching a game or gameplay or speedrunning or anything, almost trying to dig into like finding yourself getting lost in not so much the game itself, but like what went into to make that?
Oh, for
Is it just
sure.
constant?
There's like a transition in my life where I think like I kind of had a new relationship with video games after kind of spending so much time on RBA and like other stuff that I've developed. But RBA has been like the biggest game that I've been working on. But that like I had to find like a new way to like and love video games because it felt too much. I was like too critical or I was looking at the wrong spots. But like now I have a new appreciation, a new
That's
like,
super interesting.
yeah, outlook on it.
Yeah.
I think that,
You saw how the sausage is made and it made you
yeah,
despise the sausage. And now,
kind
now
of.
I can't enjoy the sausage again, actually.
But
It's
then,
kind
but
of.
then I got to a point where it's just like, yeah, I can appreciate the decision made here, or
Hmm.
like I totally see what maybe they were going for, or maybe there's some system or game that like people are crapping on. And it's like, no, I get it. You guys took a risk there, and it's like
Hmm.
that was really cool in itself. But yeah, speedrunning, that's a huge enjoyment for me at least, is like
Yeah.
kind of listening to them talk about yeah, what exactly they're trying to exploit at a given time. And
Okay. Do you enjoy those sorts of speed runs more where they're like actively trying to like kind of break the game as opposed to just
that's
like
a
a
really good
100%
question.
sort of yeah.
Yeah. I think they do like glitchless runs,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That's what I'm
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
referring to there. Yeah.
Though they usually tend to use a lot of glitches in
Yeah,
them.
yeah. This is always like an exploit of some sort,
Yeah.
certainly.
Um, yeah, I think I like the glitch ones a lot
Hmm.
more.
Okay. Okay,
Because
interesting. Yeah.
the roles in speedrunning too, it's like I realized over time that it's like sometimes the runner isn't the one that is actively looking for ways to speed the run. And there's
Mm.
just like there's people straight up in the
Oh,
community that they're not necessarily runners themselves, or like they're not maybe known for running. They're just like looking for these exploits and they're
yeah.
sharing them with other members of the community, which is like, again, that's like so
So
cool.
cool. Yeah.
People are like on the couch, or like the runners are just like, yeah, and this was found by so and so, and like this saved four
Hmm.
seconds. And like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
4 seconds is huge for them, right? It's like that was a redefining moment for them. And it's like wild to
Do you have a greatest of all time moment? Like, do you have a favorite moment in your history of watching speed running or a favorite like game to watch be speed run?
I think Dishonored and Dishonored 2 is wild. Yeah. Those ones are so
Yeah.
beautiful to watch because the movement is like really cool and fun, regardless if you're speedrunning or not. But
Just well
then
designed. Yeah.
yeah, but like watching someone who's just like literally put hundreds of hours into the game, and they just like you just watch a sequence of events happen, and you're just like, that took me 3 hours to do.
I know. I
Like
was sneaking around that island like an asshole, and you just completed it in one go.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
insane.
Dude, I
Um,
remember. Sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good. You're good. Go, go.
I just those the Dishonored one. I remember after playing the game through twice, going like full balls to the wall, kill everyone one run, and then full stealth the first run I did. But I remember going back and playing on the hardest without getting seen, just without being seen, because that was always a like check the box at the end to get it perfect or whatever. And
Mm.
dude,
Zero detection.
I remember spending like 6 hours on the first 2 levels.
You can outrun a
Like
corner.
probably 3 hours of the first level and probably
Yeah.
maybe more on the second. And getting so frustrated because it was just like, oh my God, it's just unbearable. It was like tick perfect execution. Like you had to be within a few frames
Mhm.
or you were seen. To a point where it was almost a deny, like probably too hard to some extent to have it even as objective. But it's cool. I like that's there. And I was younger because this was Dishonored 1. But it's yeah, watching a speedrunner of those games it's flawless. Like how
Mhm.
crazy good they are. And you're right, the movement
They're
is
super
so
aware
fluid
of
and
just everything in the environment. Yeah, at any given moment is
There's some
yeah,
like
something
runners
to
that
admire.
like not only are they doing like some of the best time runs,
Mhm.
they're also like styling while doing it.
Yeah,
And it's like I can't believe that like you're taking also like the brain space and the athleticism with like your hands to just do something
yeah, the
else
dexterity. Yeah,
when you're like already doing something really cool on top of that. So
that is
um
neat. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
the
huge respect for
expression
them.
right there. Yeah.
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 Protect the community at all
Protect the
costs.
speedrunning community at all costs. Yeah, very good.
Um,
Very good. Yeah, well, kind of transitioning from speedrunning into RBA. I guess a speedrunning question related to RBA. Like, so since you've been watching speedrunning or you've had this history of watching speedrunning, is that something that you're taking into account at this point in the dev cycle for like future modes? Or is it just like, I think we mentioned it before, just having like a timer on some levels or whatever, or just that sort of information available to a player?
I've always had it like a thought of mine while developing, designing. So like there's some weapons that kind of give you a huge amount of pushback when you use it in RBA. And it's like, I really hope someone uses this to just like fly through a level, right? They just like upgrade themselves to have a enormous amount of kickback with a gun. And like that's how
Just
they
like
kind of
boost
fly.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's fun.
Yeah, I would love to kind of have like some type of speedrunner pick it up. We've gone to some cons where we've like done contests for it, so like the winner wins a key or something like that. Which was a lot of fun. That was really cool. But yeah, but if anyone, I'll say it right now, if
Okay.
anyone goes and kind of submits a speedrun time to RBA, there will be definitely some tribute to you in the
Hell yeah,
game.
man. Hell yeah.
First, yeah. Because yeah, enormous amount of respect for runners. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Very cool. Yeah, well, hopping right in. Yeah, how are you? How are things going in the world of rightfully Barry Arms? It's been about like 6 months, I think, since we last spoke. So,
we just dropped the Halloween spooky event. So
wonderful.
we our third boss in the early access release is taking time to go on tour with his band, Octopus.
Right.
So he's so he's
I love
playing.
that.
So he's been removed from the game temporarily, and then he was replaced by our Halloween boss, the headless comma horseman. So we or
Nice.
the headless horseman, or yeah, headless horseman, and then comma man. Sorry.
Had
Um,
this horse. Man.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha, I see.
The comma is thematic in our universe, so that's why
Yes, yeah, clearly.
we have to keep bringing it back. But yeah, I think since the last time we've kind of worked on adding expanding on a lot of systems. So there's a lot more builds you can do between like the runtimes and weaponogs and things like that. So we've gotten really good feedback on it,
Hmm.
and yeah, pretty excited to keep kind of honing in on our 1.0 release.
Nice. You still feel you're on track for the scheduled release date or
Yeah. It's going to be
okay.
sometime 2025. We'll see. We don't have an exact date yet, but Xbox and Steam will also be on Epic. We just recently launched on the Humble Store too, so
Oh, nice.
that was exciting. But yeah,
When you're developing for console, does that add a whole lot more to like the general workflow or
yeah, it's interesting. You gotta any platform in general, whether it's Steam, Epic, anything like that just doesn't take the exe that you want to like
oh
integrate
really?
into and like have achievements and stuff like that. You kind of have to like have these hooks into your game to figure out like yeah, different triggers and stuff like that. So for Xbox, I think it's like of the console platforms, it's it's like an easier one to get into. and technical wise. So there hasn't really been that much we've had to change with the game, but we've had to like tweak some performance stuff and yeah, again, integrate with their backend. So
Is that
it's
the
not,
reason you guys haven't done Sony as well? Just too much kind of.
as of right now, yeah. We're gonna honestly see how Xbox sales go, and then just make the decision on whether we go and pursue other consoles.
Is Xbox more seamless just because it's, Microsoft?
Yeah, they seem to be the most indie friendly. I mean, they're the ones that kind of, I would say, are a big part of the indie scene, or the why the indie scene kind of is here because of their 360
Yeah,
marketplace.
the
Right.
arcade back in the day.
Yeah, they were a huge influence of that, and they spawned so many great titles. And their ID at Xbox kit is like, again, super friendly. So you just like go and you apply to it, put on some resources, and then they either accept or deny you. But the other two consoles are a little bit more hurdles to get through. So
Yeah, I was just curious. That totally makes sense. But I never drew the connection between the 360 marketplace. But what you said, that I was like, holy shit, I played so many indie games before I had a
Yeah,
computer that I
back in the
gamed on.
day.
Like, because I didn't have a gaming computer till I was in college. That realistically, I didn't really do Steam until college. So I was always on Xbox 360 and PS3 and anything prior to, but Xbox 360, that was my only exposure to indie games for sure.
Yeah, totally. The beginning of like that movement,
Damn, that's
with
crazy to think
Braid
about.
and
Braid,
Bastion,
Yeah.
Castle
Oh yeah,
Crashers, that
Bastion.
sort of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, so
Super
many,
Meat
dude.
Boy. Yeah.
Super
Super
Meat
Meat
Boy.
Boy,
There's
yeah.
so many I
Yeah.
could think of.
Just like getting it into a wide audience's hands and kind of, introducing the concept to the market. That is neat. I guess. Thanks, Microsoft, for that.
Yeah, thank you for that. Speaking of companies you want to be, you wish were better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
seriously.
that's
Yeah,
ain't that the
yeah.
truth.
Honestly.
Oh,
It's like you have so much there, and I can see maybe what you're trying to go for, but then like I don't know, they fumble it all the
they
time.
fumble it. They just fumble so
They
hard.
do. And they
Like
know. They know they're fumbling too.
They have
It's
golden
yeah,
like,
gooses that they just shut down after the most successful fucking indie sales game of all
yeah,
time.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Tango Gameworks.
yeah, it's like,
Bizarre.
Rip.
what are you doing? What are you doing?
A little bit of a tangent, but that did get me thinking. Chris, did you see Halo Studios announcement that they had the other day?
What was it? What was it?
That they're like, oh, I think just that the studio is opening in itself, and then that they're new name, new engine, new games,
Well,
new
they're
philosophy.
stopping making 343 is kind of like dead. So they're
Yeah, they're
stopping
in the
using
ashes of 343.
what do you call it? Proprietary engines. They're not making
Mm,
their own engines anymore. They're going to just go to Unreal.
yes.
And I was like, that's fine. Some people are like, it looks blocky. I'm like, the games have looked fucking plasticky and blocky since 343 took over. Like, there's no
Yeah,
shit. Even Reach looked a little plasticky to me, and that wasn't
I
even
know. We were
343 yet.
just playing Reach the other
Yeah,
day.
and it does look plasticky compared to 1 through 3 because it's just, I don't know, it's just the direction they went. It's just fine. It's not like Unreal is suddenly making it plasticky. Unreal is a fucking great engine. I don't know what anyone.
Hmm.
I'm fine with that because clearly whatever they're pouring into the engines is not working for that. I'm a big
Yeah.
fucking Halo fan,
They
so
can
that's
put their efforts focus their efforts onto other aspects instead of graphics.
Yeah,
I think it'll give them.
yeah. I think for even big CEOs, it's still like I don't quite understand the choice usually to create your own engine. Like it's just wild to me. I know that you probably don't want to share the royalties. It's probably the biggest,
Mm,
oh, that
but
makes sense.
still, it's so much work, and
so many
there's
problems that arise
and
with it.
I
Yeah.
know there's like a whole team behind whatever engine you can choose, and they're
Totally.
usually pretty good with it. So
Mhm.
And they've all probably worked on those for a long time.
Yeah,
Or if
they've
you've
been
worked on
iterated
Unreal
upon.
1 through
Yeah,
4,
exactly.
you'll probably know how 5 works pretty well. And like
That
that's
is interesting.
from
And
my
you
understanding.
oh yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, from my understanding, the biggest issue with proprietary engines is that they use fucking contractors, 6 month to a
Mm,
year-long contractors to develop the engine. And then when shit needs more development,
they
they're
don't know what to be
gone.
doing.
And
Yeah.
every other new proprietary contractor there, not proprietary contractor, but every new contractor comes in to work on this proprietary engine that's never had any exposure, but they don't want to pay benefits too, so they're just keeping him as a contractor. I mean, realistically, that's what it is. It's fucking
Hmm.
corporate
Yeah.
101.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to be
It's
thinking
fucked up.
about just the chain of decisions that lead to things being done the way they are. Yeah. And you always hear stories. I was just gonna say you always hear stories about studios switching from their proprietary engines to something more generally used. Like Square Enix has done it,
Yeah.
CD Projekt Red is doing it, I think, after Cyberpunk. Now Halo's doing it. Fucking Halo is old as time.
Unreal is also pretty crazy. Unreal 5 is pretty crazy what it can do. I've seen some showcases
Hmm.
of things.
I've watched some of the tech demos, and even for a layman such as myself,
Right,
I'd be like,
same. I don't know
"Wow,
shit
pretty
about programming,
crazy."
but
I
Look
think
at
Disney
those
is
trees.
pretty heavily invested, right, in Unreal because they
I
use a
believe,
lot of
yeah, they
it.
use the volume
that
a
wouldn't
lot for
surprise me at all.
their live action stuff,
Oh yeah, I
like the
never.
Mandalorian and everything. Yeah. I think that's a cool like crossroads of video game tech and like the other parts of the entertainment industry that has been happening for a number of years now.
I know it's a little different for indie games in general. What engine did you guys come up with your own? Or
No, we went
okay,
with Unity on
yeah,
ours.
it's Unity. Okay, yeah, I was just curious. I mean, that's what most indie games are made on. Makes sense. It's a great
The
engine.
rightfully Barry engine,
Yeah,
the RBE.
the Bear Arms engine.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Eventually,
it
yes.
just seems like so much work.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a ton, and you've got a lot of people out there that just already kind of did the formula for you,
Yeah,
and you can just focus on the design of the game, which is nice. And
totally, totally. Put your passion into where your passion wants to go.
exactly.
Don't gruel over something.
Very good. Yeah, kind of heading back to RBA. How's the future looking? Like,
Oh, it's good.
just had
Yeah,
your
we
update. What's coming next?
definitely. So yeah, we've gotten some already good feedback on the update, which I think we'll be doing some balance changes coming soon. And then yeah, continue to kind of like invest in these systems that we've had so that people, can experiment with builds and try different metas. I get screenshots from certain players of like how they're breaking the game with certain builds, and I love that.
You
Like
encourage that, yeah.
yeah. I think that's great. So right now it seems like a good way to break it is to collect a lot of money in our game. So there's
The economy
the
can be
economy.
exploited. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's always something that I'm sure is tough to balance.
the economy is
This
very
sort of stuff.
stimulating and
Yeah.
stimulated in RBA.
RBA, right on.
But we have something fun coming up that's related to Steam that we'll
Okay.
be able to talk about a couple days from now. So
All right, all right.
keep a lookout for it. And
Yeah, hop in that Discord if you haven't.
hop in, yeah,
Yeah, the RBA Discord, not ours. I mean, you can if you want, but
hop in both. How about that?
hop in both. Yeah, right on, right on.
The
Have you
okay.
added any new weapons or anything like that since we last spoke? Any notable additions
As of right now, no new like weapons
or
or
reworked anything in a significant way?
other than just like balances and stuff like that. Again, a lot of it has been coming from investing more time in the builds in the system. So just like different ways to modify how you can do your run. Yeah.
You were about to say something, Chris, before you asked.
Maybe
Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know. Sorry, I didn't know.
The train departed. And then
Yeah.
so,
Sorry,
You were gonna
I
mention
derailed
thank
you.
you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It happens like on the daily for me. So
Do you have any more questions about game dev, Jake? Anything regarding RBA?
No, I don't. I haven't had the chance. I bought it. I just haven't had the chance to play it yet because of how busy I've been. But I like bullet hell games, so and bullet storm games. So recommended it. And I watched the videos. I was like, this looks pretty fun. So I'm gonna dive in. But no, unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to jump into it yet, just because just been fucking busy.
No, that's
But
life, man.
it's
that
on my
is
list.
Totally
that is
understand. Yeah.
I will always understand that. Let us know what you think, though. Love to
Oh, I
know.
for sure will.
Mhm,
Because
mhm.
yeah, I do. I didn't grow up loving Bulletstorm and Bullet Hell. It wasn't something I was into until probably a couple years ago. There's certain ones that I don't vibe with still for some reason. Aerial ones, I have a hard time. I have a hard time
Which
getting.
ones?
I think it's like aerial, like flight ones.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know
Yeah,
what
yeah,
the
yeah.
difference. It's still the same fucking game. So like a lot of times, right? It's still a bullseye. But there's something about like for me, just like the maybe it's just the freedom of space or something, but like the I like a more linear path and like especially bullet hells that have level design built in that aren't just a blank
And you're
screen.
not just like a scrolling
Yes.
sort of background.
I think that's the biggest thing is most of the area ones I've played that are scrolling. I don't like bullet scrollers. I like when there's a little level design to it.
A little exploration involved.
Yeah, and I
a little
didn't
more
know
fun.
I liked bullet hell games or bullet storm, or any of the types of games until I started playing some of those. And that's just I've gotten really into a lot of them. And even games that I play that have mini games with it, where and I end up diving super high into like those. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one just because I haven't played one in a good 6 months or so.
I think
But yeah,
those shoot 'em up like scroller games too. It's just like the formula's coming, and it's like there's good one out there, but I totally know what you mean by that. Yeah,
you gotta be real creative at this point to show us something we haven't seen.
Okay. Well, I have a bit of a question, I suppose, in regards to balancing. Like what are the challenges there? Is it like making something weaker, or is it just like you want to? 'Cause I feel like that's the wrong approach, right? Like by nerfing something, you want to just make everything more viable in a way. Like how has that been
I think
with
it's
your
like
arsenal?
trying to think about like all different play styles has been a bit of a challenge of like I know how I would like to play it and optimize, and knowing how someone else maybe would walk in and try to do it and taking that into consideration. I've always tried to figure out what exactly the fun is, right? Like what do players like to do, and we kind of have hit a point, at least in RBA, where I've noticed certain builds are like players are having a lot of fun with, but like it's maybe a little bit too the challenge curve is a little bit easy to get to at some point, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so it's like I don't want to remove that fun. I would like to keep it there, but I want maybe the amount of steps to get there to just increase or something like that. So it's like how do you push it to the right a little bit, like further down
you make
game.
the reward seem a little greater without removing anything. Yeah, I understand that.
Then sometimes too, like the I think the biggest criticism we've had with RBA is like, oh, it's a little too difficult to get into. So it's like, how do you kind of entice and like get that dopamine hit on the player sooner? And then like have the systems click. I think kind of our biggest problem has been and kind of still is that we do have kind of a lot of more unique systems at play, and I think some players don't put that together. And I mean, it's a little bit of our fault because we've got to figure out how to like
communicate all that
to the player. Yeah,
without like being so
super pop-up tutorial window. Yeah.
That's I can imagine that's so hard.
Yeah, we have a one system in the game. It's called Calamities, and it's every time you beat a boss and you progress through the next galaxy in RBA, you basically select an enemy buff. Basically, is
something to make it a little more challenging.
You get to choose how enemies upgrade, and like what I want it to come across as at first to players is like, oh yeah, this is a bad thing to get. Like I don't want to have to deal with more health or something like that. But there are certain calamities that you can select that maybe on the surface are bad, but like if you build your berry in the right way, it's actually a buff to you, right? And so like you have to like figure out how to min max it
and strategize like having, in that regard.
Like, more health for an enemy than having % health damage on your gun or something.
Exactly. Gotcha. That is definitely you're catching on, Jake.
See, math.
I play a lot of MOBAs.
He understands
you see that.
Yeah. So we don't still in EA, so we're like experimenting with a lot of that stuff. So some of that stuff isn't quite realized yet. But that's kind of like the roadmap that I want to go on to.
The foundation's there. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so explore that a little bit more. So
yeah, from what I've watched, the build paths look super. That's what I'm like looking for. I love games with lines of progression and with unlockables. Like I eat it up. And the unique build paths and the unlockables that are in the game are really cool. Like that's what's so enticing to me is how you guys have done that, because it looks like you can have some pretty complex. Like no run's going to be the same.
That's what we're trying to. So
right on.
That's cool.
Have you had the chance to do in-person demoing lately, or you're not going to be doing that for a while?
Actually, yeah, we did some local events nearby.
Nice,
so
nice.
we actually got to show off the Halloween update
before
it went out live.
Relatively recent. Right on.
It's always good. So local events are, they're hit or miss. Usually,
I'm sure. I can imagine. Yeah,
it's usually like low turnout, which is fine. That's not a huge deal. But then you like get like people that maybe aren't too into gaming. They're more into like pop comic sort of
Mm.
pop culture stuff.
Yeah.
And then if they are into gaming, then it's like you got to make sure. Then you have to hit like, oh yeah, you like bullet hell games. Do you like bullet hell games? And then usually they do or they don't. So yeah.
Right on. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I think that's all my questions about the game presently. This is.
How many devs are behind?
Oh
Just
yes, yes.
me and one other dev. Yeah, we've been doing it
Yeah.
part time now for a while. We have a composer. He's awesome.
I was gonna ask about
Yeah,
the music.
should have him on the show. He's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
We
always,
discussed it last time.
yeah, I
yeah,
know. I'll get him on here.
Yeah.
He's
You
an
get the
incredible
whole
guy.
team. Yeah, the
Yeah,
little 3-on-3. Nick will be happy to come.
yeah, I'll have played it by then too.
Mhm.
Which will be cool.
yeah. And then April helps with like all the community stuff and helping events like this and stuff together. So
The thing we've heard from other devs, the most difficult thing, I'm curious if you agree, is advertising.
yeah,
And
Marketing yourself.
advertising, even like just like the community stuff too, and like just like applying to like Xbox and all these like other things. It's a lot of work outside of already doing work for the game.
right,
Yeah.
yeah,
Outside of
developing the
developing
game itself.
actively. Yeah.
Yeah. So April's been a huge help with that. It's been nice.
Well, I think we're kind of scooting towards the end of the episode, and I'm trawling through our community question and
Oh,
answers
Q&A.
tab.
Yeah, definitely.
Looks like
Thanks
the
for doing
video
that.
ditch community let us down, but we got one question from
We haven't been active, to be
community
fair, for
member
2 months, so
Biscuits. Yeah.
Who's in biscuits?
Who records each episode on Zoom, and why is it somebody stopping? Well, the answer to that would reveal too much about the power dynamics behind the show, so I can't answer that.
The secret
Okay.
ingredient, is that what you're
yeah, yeah, the secret sauce.
But I got a question, to kind of close this out, since we are approaching the end of the year, and I like to ask guests this
Yeah.
usually anytime, but at the end of the year it's a little more pertinent. Do you have a game of the year, Chris? Anything from 2024 really stuck with you? And if not, I totally understand. I mean, if there's just a favorite game you've played this year that doesn't happen to have been released this year, that also works for me just fine.
I am not currently bringing up my Steam profile to look through my
Yeah, I
recently
know,
played
right?
games.
Yeah, what have I been playing? Yeah.
Sam,
Give me some time.
I think I'm kind of Sam. Now that we're getting closer, and I don't think I'll be diving into too many
Mhm.
more big. Well, I don't know. I am about to get a PS5. Um,
Yeah.
but as of right now, because we've talked about this countless times, and I don't know if I've ever definitively said, but I think at this point in the year, I'd have to go with Balatro. Balatro's so
Balatro,
fucking
game of the year. I love
so
that
good.
pick.
I can
Yeah.
respect that. Huge amount of
That is
respect for
valid.
that. Yeah.
It's such a
Oh,
good game.
personally, I don't know. I'm leaning towards like a Dragon 8 or Dragon's Dogma 2, but I feel like my heart's not super in those picks. So I've gotta consider really what else is coming out. I mean, if Streets of Rogue 2 had its full release
Mm.
this year, that might have been it. Yeah. I will say that Atlas game, Metaphor,
Oh, how have
getting
you been
getting a
playing it?
lot of getting a lot of buzz. No, but there's a massive demo out, like over 12 hours of content you can play in this demo. I
Yeah,
hate referring to game as fucking content.
I love Atlas games. They
Oh
don't
yeah,
make
man.
bad games.
I mean, I heard Soul Hackers wasn't great
Oh, Soul
from
Hackers 2.
previous guests.
Also, Soul Hackers wasn't great either. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't call it a bad game. It just for their what I hold the
Their
caliber I
standard
hold
of
them to,
quality.
yeah, the
Yeah.
standard wasn't it was my least favorite Atlas game I've ever played, bar none.
I
But
haven't touched that one.
I've only played the first. Did not hear good things about the second though. But the first was like not great.
Yeah.
For the Shin Megami Tenseis tend to be pretty good, even though the offshoots are good, wasn't it?
All right,
So
Chris.
I
Yeah, what do
haven't
we
I
got?
haven't I haven't actually played a lot of games that have been released 2024, so the list is really small here. But one game in particular that I don't know if it's necessarily game of the year, criteria,
No,
but
but your game of the year.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
It's a I think so well designed and well executed. Thronefall just did its 1.0 release recently.
Thronefall.
It's this kind of like minimalistic art style on a tower defense game. And
Oh, I love tower.
yeah, even the
Oh, it came out super recently.
yeah, even the I played in the early access version, so I've
This
been
is a
playing for a decent amount of
very
time.
pleasing art style.
Yeah, I
It's
like
Yeah,
this.
super
I like
vibrant. Man,
the
bold. I like
the
that.
the
my
game
wish list.
design is just as pleasing. So
Okay.
it's simple. You have predetermined spots where to build certain buildings, and
Okay.
like
Oh, so it kind of takes that decision-making element out of the
yeah, I
equation.
at first I thought I wasn't gonna like that because I thought I would want that
The
choice to
freedom, yeah.
strategize. But it's like the strategy comes from like you
Deciding
figuring
which
out,
unit to
yeah,
place there. Yeah.
Gotcha.
where to invest and stuff like that. So
Cool.
there's like other mechanics to it that I think it does really well. I feel like they got a huge amount of inspiration from Kingdom Two Crowns with
Mm.
certain
Ooh.
UI elements and
Yeah.
keeping
Kingdom's
it
a
simple.
cool minimalist series.
It
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Super
Um,
straightforward game design there.
I feel like they took
It's
that like
satisfying.
minimal design aspect of it and they kind of just like maybe took it a little bit a step up,
Yeah,
and
another level.
it's a little bit more complicated than Kingdom, but it's not yeah, it's not like
Overwhelmingly so.
a hard tower defense game to learn. So
That's cool. I can dig
yeah,
this. I like
Yeah, no, it looks very
uh,
neat.
tower
Very
defense.
neat. And tower defense games, I feel like they can tap into like a really addictive quality very
Oh my
quickly.
God, they're
for
so
sure,
Right? Like
for
if you
addictive.
get
sure.
through those
They're
first two
so
levels, you're
addictive.
like, okay, I
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
what's going on here. And then it's just
Totally.
like, yeah, just more and more complicated. Very cool.
yeah.
Unconventional pick. I love to hear it. Throne
There you
Fall.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
too. It's cool.
Very cool. And then Chris, where can viewers, listeners find your game,
Woo.
find the company? Yeah. Hit them with
The
the plug.
easiest way is just rbagame.com. That gets you to our website, and then we've got like a socials button and the link to Steam to buy the game. Yeah, join our Discord. Hit us up on Twitter and all those other places. X, sorry.
No, it's fine.
It's fine.
No apologies on Elon's behalf. It's fine. Very good. Very good. And you can find us. We're at Video Ditch Pod. We'll link all the socials below. All the YouTube rigmarole, as they say.
Yeah, you know where to find us.
Yeah, you know where to find us. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. I think that is going to close out for this week's episode of Video Ditch. But thank you again, Chris, for coming on. Always a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to have you, sir.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
Love
was great
to be
chatting.
on the Video Ditch.
Yeah, man, we'd love to have you on again. But until next time, viewers and listeners, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you later. Thank you.